Hey guys, today we will be recapping Lucifer Season 2. As Lucifer helps Chloe with a murder case involving a stand-in for a popular teen show actress, he becomes convinced that his mother's soul is occupying the body of the murderer to torment him. Lucifer tells Dr. Martin the story of how the union of his father and mother created the universe, but his mother was ultimately banished to hell forever. Chloe tells Lucifer that she has some of his blood from the shooting and plans to test it to either prove or disprove his claims of being the devil. When amenadiel finds out about this, he makes up a story for Chloe that portrays Lucifer as delusional, but human. Like Lucifer, amenadiel starts to show signs of losing his angelic powers on Earth. Dan is reinstated to the police force, but gets demoted. Maze also returns from her absence, saying that she went to see a friend and wants to figure out how she fits into this world. At the end of the episode, Lucifer's mother shows up at his door, seeking help. Lucifer's mother is shown awakening in her new body in pain, finding a screwdriver lodged in her neck. She explains her story to Lucifer, and they return to the hotel room that she last remembers being in, finding 2 murdered bodies. Lucifer is convinced his mother committed the crimes and gets Chloe and Dan to investigate. Lucifer later learns that the body his mother occupies is that of Charlotte Richards, a law firm's managing partner who had been having an affair with a man she recently promoted to senior partner. Cocaine is also found hidden in Charlotte's home, giving the team more suspects. The investigation ultimately shows that Charlotte was a victim and Charlotte was not the murderer. With the crime solved, Lucifer chastises Charlotte for abandoning him when he was banished to hell. She replies that God initially wanted to end Lucifer's existence, but she convinced God to send him to hell instead. Lucifer seems to accept the explanation and walks away, after which Charlotte looks to the sky with a sly grin. Chloe and Dan bring Lucifer in on a case involving a serial killer whose methods of torturing victims bother Lucifer because he sees it as someone usurping his role. They find a connection to an online video sharing company headed by Layla Sims, as the murder victims are revealed to have shot and posted videos of other people being humiliated. Back at the precinct, Chloe and Dan discuss their effect on Trixie, with Dan finally saying they need to get a divorce. Charlotte insists that Lucifer let her see her other son, amenadiel. Although Lucifer refuses to help, Charlotte manages to speak to amenadiel at Lux while she is there alone. Lucifer walks in on the discussion and comes to a decision on the punishment he will give his mother for escaping hell. She will be sentenced to live among the humanity that she so despises. Chloe, Dan, and Lucifer investigate a young woman's dead body found discarded in the woods. The woman has a triangle-shaped stamp on her wrist, which becomes a key clue when they find another female victim with the same stamp. With Chloe depressed over her pending divorce, Maze, Dr. Martin, and Ella take her to a bar for girls' night. Chloe sees a man who has the triangle stamp on his wrist and soon learns the stamp comes from an underground sex club. They discover a man named Uriel had a connection to both victims and photos on his phone, help them find the killer. Elsewhere, Charlotte struggles to adjust to her domestic life, while amenadiel agonizes over his diminishing angelic powers. He then learns of Lucifer's deal with God. Returns Charlotte to hell in exchange for sparing Chloe's life. Amenadiel says Lucifer's punishment of Charlotte does not fulfill the deal and wonders if God will take back his half of the bargain. Just then, Chloe is shown driving when a car smashes into hers. Chloe's car accident is revealed to have been caused by Uriel, Lucifer's and amenadiel's brother, who has the special ability to foresee patterns. Chloe is not badly hurt and she goes right back to work, starting the case of murdered action star Wesley Cabot. Uriel tells Lucifer that the accident was a message. Return Charlotte to hell within 24 hours or Chloe will die. Lucifer visits Charlotte, telling her Uriel is a sign of God's anger and that others will come to take her to hell if she does not go willingly. Charlotte refuses. Amenadiel and Uriel soon get in a fight. With amenadiel's weakness and Uriel anticipating his moves, Uriel easily wins. Lucifer finally sees that amenadiel has lost his powers. Lucifer then confronts Uriel and sees him with Azrael's dagger, acquired from the Angel of Death. Realizing Uriel intends to use the dagger to end Charlotte's existence permanently, Lucifer fights with his brother and loses. Maze arrives to battle with Uriel and, in the scuffle, Uriel loses hold of the dagger. Lucifer retrieves the instrument and plunges the blade into Uriel, which kills him for good, but not before he says something in Lucifer's ear. At a zombie-themed wedding, shots from an unseen source wound the groom and kill the bride. Chloe and Dan investigate and Lucifer later arrives hungover, still shaken from exterminating Uriel. Chloe reluctantly agrees to let Maze take Trixie out trick-or-treating so she can continue working the case. Maze reveals part of her true face to Trixie, and Trixie thinks it is a costume. Amenadiel visits Charlotte, who praises the way he has always done what his father asked. Amenadiel then starts to criticize God for allowing everything that has happened to the family. Chloe tracks the wedding sniper to a pharmaceutical company, and Lucifer steps in front of the man's next intended victim, hoping to be shot himself. Chloe then ambushes the shooter and arrests him without incident. Lucifer visits Dr. Martin and confesses to killing his brother. He says he has always been a punisher, but never killed anyone before. As Lucifer tells the story, Dr. Martin interrupts, asking him to stop speaking in metaphors and insisting he be honest. Lucifer then reveals his true face to Dr. Martin to prove he is not lying, leaving her in a state of shock. Chloe gets a case that hits close to home when she learns the man convicted of killing Officer John Decker, her father, is being released from prison under supervision to attend his granddaughter's christening. When the prisoner and his driver guard subsequently end up murdered, Chloe and Dan reinvestigate and learn that the wrong man was in prison. During the case, Lucifer, still disgusted with himself, tries to look and act like Dan to feel more useful. Elsewhere, Dr. Martin says she has to drop Maze as a friend upon learning that she is a demon. Maze, meanwhile, is searching for a profession to fulfill her existence on Earth. When she helps Chloe and the team find Deputy Warden Perry Smith, the man who ordered the killing of John Decker, Maze decides she will be a bounty hunter. Chloe, Dan, and Lucifer take on the case of a female stabbing victim who is revealed to have been a member of a yoga group that borders on a cult. Lucifer also asks Ella for help in his own case. Finding out who stole Azrael's dagger from Uriel's grave, Ella helps lead Lucifer to Charlotte's law firm. When confronted, Charlotte reveals she released the dagger into the world to get God's attention. Chloe's and Lucifer's cases cross when several members of the yoga group are found stabbed to death, with Azrael's blade resting in the final victim. Dan briefly holds the blade and threatens Lucifer for ruining his family, but Dan manages to break free of the blade's hold through sheer willpower. Later, amenadiel tells Lucifer he wants things back in their proper places with Lucifer in hell and Charlotte in heaven, but Charlotte says she wants her entire family back in heaven. Lucifer says he despised living in hell, but the thought of heaven is even worse. He says the only place he feels respected is on Earth. Meanwhile, Lucifer resumes his sessions with Dr. Martin, who begins to realize Lucifer is like a lot of her therapy patients. A damaged individual from a dysfunctional family. Chloe, Dan, and Lucifer tackle the murder of a wealthy real estate mogul who owned the entire block that includes Lux. Their investigation turns up multiple people with motives, including the victim's son, his fiancée who comes from modest means, and a rival real estate developer who wants to tear down the whole block, including Lux, to put up a shopping mall. The developer is about to get her wish until Chloe manages to get the building that houses Lux declared a historic landmark. Meanwhile, Charlotte becomes intimately friendly with Dan and starts to strongly believe that Chloe is the reason Lucifer wants to stay on Earth. Charlotte meets with a bomb maker and plans to blow up Chloe when she steps into her car. Charlotte's attempt to kill Chloe is stopped by amenadiel, who convinces her that eliminating Chloe would only cause Lucifer to be relentless in finding her killer. Lucifer later learns Charlotte tried to kill Chloe, but his thoughts soon turn to the trial of John Decker's murder, with Charlotte assigned to defend Warden Smith, using information unwittingly provided by Dan. Lucifer takes the stand as a witness and testifies that Chloe was first on the scene, putting a conviction at risk because Chloe provides reasonable doubt. Charlotte tries to convince Chloe to lie on the stand and paint Lucifer's testimony as false, which is the only way the warden could be convicted, but Chloe instead says Lucifer told the truth. amenadiel later meets Chloe's mother Penelope, who is distraught over her husband's killer being set free. amenadiel remembers meeting Penelope and John Decker 35 years ago when he was sent by God to assist in a miracle, allowing Penelope to get pregnant. He then meets with Charlotte, telling her the story and stating that Lucifer's coming to Earth and meeting Chloe was predestined. When the only apparent connection between two murder victims is the fact that they'd once shared Lucifer's bed, Chloe interviews all of his lovers, male and female, from the past 2 months to try and find the culprit. Lucifer comes to the uncomfortable realization that he was never more to them than they were to him, in the process derailing his confidence in pursuing his burgeoning affections towards Chloe. Meanwhile, the actual connection in the murders is a mysterious figure for whom the victims were smuggling an unknown but deadly substance, which goes undiscovered by the police. Mazikeen continues to search for her own identity and learns a valuable truth from Dr. Linda, while amenadiel tries to manipulate Lucifer towards Chloe at their mother's behest. In the end, Lucifer decides to stop pursuing Chloe, telling her that she is special and he is not worthy of her. His extolling of the things that make her special makes Chloe see that he has come to care for her as more than just a conquest, and she kisses him. Lucifer is a bit confused when Chloe acts more carefree and relaxed in his presence, exchanging barbs with him. Lucifer and Chloe keep trying to track down the owner of the mysterious package after a college student is found dead due to an unknown poison. Clues lead them to Professor Carlyle, who had been chastised for saving himself and his dissertation from a burning vehicle, leaving the driver to die. Carlyle is conducting morbid experiments to prove all humans would make the choice he did. Meanwhile, Maze hears about Chloe's birth story from Charlotte and agrees to meet with Lucifer to tell him the truth in the very bar where Amenadiel met Penelope 35 years ago. As Maze changes her mind, Lucifer sees a photo of Amenadiel and a younger Penelope on the bar wall, and Charlotte confirms that Chloe is a miracle ordered by God. Lucifer goes to confront Chloe and sees she has the symptoms of Carlisle's poison. Lucifer and Chloe desperately search for an antidote to save her, learning that the professor sourced the ingredients for his poisons from an amateur artist. Chloe collapses and is hospitalized, while Dan and Lucifer learn that the formula for the antidote was known only to Carlisle. With no other options, Lucifer has Maze and Linda stop his heart, allowing him to enter hell and find Carlisle's soul, which is now eternally tormented by a recreation of the car accident. Lucifer offers him a chance at absolution in exchange for the formula, but Carlisle fails to assuage his guilt sufficiently. While waiting to be revived, however, Lucifer stumbles upon an illusion of Uriel, who forces Lucifer to kill him again and again. Charlotte sends herself to hell to free him, but ends up succumbing to her own guilt, forcing Lucifer to drag her away. Upon being revived, Lucifer meets up with Dan and Ella, who have retrieved the ingredients, and creates the antidote. Charlotte tries to reconnect with her son, but he disowns her for deceiving him. When Chloe visits Lux later, she is shocked to find it closed for business with Lucifer nowhere to be found. Lucifer returns to Los Angeles after 2 weeks and introduces his wife Candy to Chloe and Dan. Chloe becomes upset both with Lucifer's cavalier attitude and his decision to marry. When Ash Corrigan, a musician in a local band, turns up dead, Lucifer tries to help Chloe, but she pushes him away. Meanwhile, Amenadiel and Charlotte also discover that Lucifer is married, and Charlotte suspects that Lucifer is planning some sort of revenge. When Maze suggests that Chloe needs a mediator, Chloe impersonates Candy as a means of getting an appointment with the mediator Ash saw for his divorce. Amenadiel confronts Lucifer for hurting Chloe's feelings. Lucifer tells him he is not trying to hurt her, rather, he is protecting her. The two discover that Doug, the drummer of Ash's band, is the murderer and take him into custody. Lucifer and Chloe agree to become partners again. It is revealed that Lucifer never married Candy, who turns out to be an actress who helped Lucifer in return for his saving her life in Las Vegas. Lucifer retrieves Azrael's blade, which turns out to be the flaming sword that once guarded Eden and can cut through the gates of heaven, allowing Charlotte to return home. As the Lightbringer, Lucifer is the only one who can reignite the blade, but fails to do so as it can only be triggered by extreme emotion. Chloe and Dan investigate the murder of an admissions officer at a prestigious elementary school. Despite uncovering embezzlement by the assistant dean, they are unable to find any leads. Chloe and Maze pose as a married couple and attend a party in honor of the deceased, where the real murderer, a teacher whose affair was discovered by the victim, is caught and subdued by Maze. Linda suggests to Lucifer that his inability to use the blade may be because he suppresses all of the pain and heartbreak in his life, and, by channeling pain instead of anger, he is able to briefly ignite the sword. It is revealed then that Charlotte is desperate to return to heaven because her human form is weakening. Lucifer and Chloe investigate the murder of an orderly at a mental institution. The suspect is a patient calling himself God Johnson, who proves to be immune to Lucifer's powers and knows to call him Samuel. Ella identifies the man as Earl Johnson, a businessman who was committed after giving away all his wealth. Lucifer feigns insanity to get himself committed. Upon seeing Johnson heal a woman that would have been the killer's second victim, Lucifer believes that he is God. Learning that Johnson has no knowledge of Charlotte escaping hell, Lucifer and Linda break him out and set up a surprise date between the two. Amenadiel reveals to Maze that Lucifer is returning to heaven, leaving her behind. Johnson and Charlotte begin to reconcile, but Chloe takes him and Lucifer back to the hospital. Lucifer and Johnson are then abducted by the real killer, one of the nurses, and make peace with one another. After being rescued, Lucifer discovers that Johnson's belt buckle was part of Azrael's blade, and that Johnson was filled with the knowledge and power of God while wearing it. Realizing that his real father would never reconcile with him, his hatred becomes even stronger. Lucifer, Amenadiel, and Charlotte cut a deal with a smuggler for the last piece of the blade. However, the smuggler is robbed and murdered before he can turn over the piece. Lucifer gets Chloe assigned to the case, who discovers that the killer is Chet Ruiz, one of Charlotte's clients and a powerful crime lord. Amenadiel and Dan bond over feeling unable to compete with Lucifer. Linda is stripped of her medical license for ethics violations, and Lucifer unintentionally botches her appeal by revealing his sexual arrangement with her. Maze attacks Lucifer for manipulating her during their time on Earth. Charlotte is coerced into stealing Chet's phone from the police, but Chloe finds out. She also learns that Charlotte is the ex-wife of Lucifer's dad and gets her to take part in a sting operation. The piece turns out to be a rare tome that only Amenadiel can read. Maze forces the chairman of the ethics board to restore Linda's license, and Charlotte accidentally kills Chet by exposing him to divine light after he stabs her. Lucifer and Amenadiel discover that the latter's necklace contains the third piece of the blade and that Amenadiel is their father's favorite son. Linda attempts to conceal Charlotte's wound, but Lucifer recognizes that her body will soon burst. He sends Maze to find Amenadiel while he covers up Chet's murder. Ella finds the cleaners Charlotte hired, and Chloe confronts Lucifer about letting his personal problems interfere with work. Amenadiel refuses to reassemble the blade, citing renewed loyalty to his father. Charlotte escapes, apparently kills one of the cleaners, and forces Linda to reveal Lucifer's plan. She then threatens to kill Chloe unless the last piece of the blade, which is in Dan's possession, is delivered to her. While Amenadiel stops time for Maze to help Linda, Chet's brother, the cleaner's real killer, attempts to shoot Lucifer and Charlotte. Lucifer ignites the blade and opens a rift leading outside the universe, where his mother can create her own world free from God's influence, and throws the blade through with her. Later, the real Charlotte is revived, having no memory of the time her body was inhabited, to Dan's distress. At the hospital, Linda encourages Lucifer to reveal his true nature to Chloe. Before he can, however, he is knocked out cold and wakes up to find himself in the desert with his wings restored.